going with 1/4 and 1/6 is going to be the way to go with these Ned bugs, at least initially. That's what we're going to go with. What's going on? Why is that? And then I realized, dummy, you're casting it to the part of the pool that slopes from the deep end to the shallow end. That's just a funny story about how I'm not very smart sometimes. Howdy from Texas. This is Heath Hipple with Bugs Fishing. This is the weekly update, and I've got a really good update on the Ned bug jig heads, the Ned heads. I got the prototypes from the local manufacturer that I'm going to use for these heads. They look great, and there was kind of a pleasant surprise in there. When a new jig head is made, it is normally hand carved, and then it's put into a mold, and to make, kind of make the master mold, master head, and then it's tested. And so, as with anything handmade or hand carved, there are some variations. What I told the guy that's helping me, I said, okay, I want 1/4 and 1/8, and if they come out heavier, then that's fine. I just didn't want them to come out lighter. The 1/4 came out just right above 1/4, very small amount above 1/4. That's what the 1/4 looks like, and it came out right above it. So, good deal, done. Let's move on. The 1/8 came out heavier than an 1/8, and not just a little bit. It came out to more like 1/6 of an ounce. So definitely heavier than an 1/8, but not quite 1/4. And so I weighed it, and I said, okay, I wonder what I should do with this. Should I call it an 1/8, and just it's heavier, or should I, call it a 1/6, which is what it is? And so I'm gonna call it a 1/6, and I put it out there on social media, asked a few people, and just my own, just thought about it myself. Would people care that it's a 1/6 of an ounce? Would that, hurt as far as how it fishes? Would people care? And my thinking was that I think people would like a 1/6 better than an 1/8, at least initially, and we should call it a 1/6 and go with it. And so that's what the 1/6 of an ounce looks like. Everybody that I've talked to has agreed. Bugs are, when it's a tied jig like a bug that doesn't have any soft plastic trailer, it's going to be a little bit lighter than people think. And this is what I mean by that. If you have an 1/8 ounce bug, that, jig head is a true 1/8 ounce, but there's no soft plastic, it's going to be lighter than an 1/8 ounce jig head with a soft plastic on it. Sometimes when I say, hey, this is an 1/8 ounce bug, people will tie it on and they'll try to fish it, and they won't be able to cast it as far. And I think in their minds they're thinking, when they say an 1/8 ounce, is it equivalent to an 1/8 ounce with a soft plastic? And soft plastics weigh quite a bit. I think an 1/8 ounce will be useful in certain situations, with light or ultralight action rods, but I think for now, going with 1/4 and a 1/6 is going to be the way to go with these Ned bugs, at least initially. That's what we're going to go with. Like I said, jig head manufacturing, it's an inexact science, and I think it was just a fortunate mistake this time. So the first two are going to be 1/4 and a 1/6. So there's another update on the trout thumper tail. So I told y'all last time that we were on the 3rd mold, and I have good news. We got it right. The mold works, and this is my buddy Brandon. I said, okay, whatever you're shooting, whatever color that you're working on in the shop, just shoot me a couple of tails and send them to me. And so he shot me this blue tail, and the action is good, the shape is good, and I gave the mold manufacturer the green light. I pool tested a couple of things this week. One was with that trout thumper. What I did, I tied up a trout thumper, and I tied it up in a 1/16 of an ounce, the lightest weight. And that weight is right here on the bottom of the hook, right behind the eyes. And so I wanted to make sure that it would swim correctly, it would swim upright even with that lightest weight. And I'm happy to report that it did. And then as soon as you start reeling, you get the thump of that tail. So the 1/16 ounce works. That was kind of something that I was concerned about. I wanted to make sure, and so pool tested it. It's great. If you're fishing, for example, in 6 inches of water and fishing a paddle tail and want something that will give you a good thump but doesn't, sink rapidly, so that trout thumper is going to be excellent for that, especially in shallow water. So 1/16 of an ounce works, or something that falls really slowly. But I was happy about that. The other thing I pool tested was that 1/4 ounce Ned bug. I tied up the black gold color, and just pool tested just to make sure that it did what it needed to do. Go right down to the bottom. But I was worried because I was casting it to the middle of the pool, and it hit the bottom, and it always fell down. It fell back. It fell back like this. It fell back like this. I was like, what's going on? Why is that? And then I realized, dummy, you're casting it to the part of the pool that slopes from the deep end to the shallow end. So it's a pretty good slope right there, so that's why it was falling down. And so when I cast it to the flat part of the pool, it stood straight up like that. That's just a funny story about how I'm not very smart sometimes. Great updates on the Ned bug project, trout thumper project. Those are both moving along nicely. Another update, there are bugs at Tampa Fishing Outfitters in Tampa, Florida. There will be bugs here. By the time you read this, they might already be there in St. Pete Fishing Outfitters. So very thankful for their business on the west coast of Florida. If you're in the Tampa area, Tampa Fishing Outfitters, St. Pete Fishing Outfitters got bugs. And I hope you all have a great long Labor Day weekend. Get some rest, maybe get some fishing in, and catch you later.